Hello and welcome to Inside Music. As always, I'm your host, James Shotwell, and it is so good to be with you again. My guest this week is my buddy John from Rivers of Nihil, whose new record, The Work, is available September 24th through Metal Blade Records. Now, this episode of the show, much like our recent one with my buddy Alex from Undeath, was recorded in person. John and I were standing just a few feet apart at the intersection in Grand Rapids, Michigan, having an actual face-to-face conversation, and I think that comes through in this episode. We discussed the creation of The Work, the rest of the band's catalog, what it's like to really come up with concept albums as a group, how that starts, how it develops, where you go from here, and so much more, and of course, the return of live music. But before we get there, I need to tell you a few quick things. This episode of Inside Music, like every episode of the show, is brought to you by Holix, the industry's leading digital promotional distribution platform. What that means is that Holix helps record labels, independent artists, and publicists from all over the world reach tastemakers, radio, blogs, magazines, whatever it happens to be. Holix can help you connect with them. To learn more, visit holix.com. That's HAULIX.com. When you get there, click on sign up, and your first month of service is 100% free. I also want to remind you to check us out on YouTube. It's youtube.com/musicbiz. That's music B-I-Z. You can stream every episode of this show, including some special video episodes, and learn a lot about the music business. But right now, all you need to do is sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Inside Music. Something good for them. I guess.
Absolutely.
Any other time you're like, this is my 100th show of the year, it's their 10th or 15th show of the year. We know what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't want to be selling the audience a rusty version of us. I don't think that's fair for anybody. So.
Well, you guys got this new album coming.
Yeah.
924, The Work.
Yes.
Wonderful record. Not a lot of people have heard it yet. I've had a chance to stream it. It is fantastic. I mean, the singles are pretty well representative of it, I would say.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think so too. Much to the chagrin of some, I would say. I think it's a pretty good representation, but it's not the full picture.
No, it'd be really hard to put that all in one song.
We all disagreed pretty heavily on what songs we would put out first.
Yeah,
like those first two singles that we have out were not my first choice. Mm-hmm. So like I had, songs from later on the album I wanted to show people first, but like at the end of the day, you just kind of have to like let it go and like
whatever, see
what happens, and we'll, let the whole full experience speak for itself.
It was an interesting thing for us as listeners, because last night we were listening to The Last Waltz by the band, which has that amazing opening track, the theme from The Last Waltz.
Oh yeah.
You guys have the theme from The Work at the beginning, and it does. I was like, I'm going on another journey. Like I had to strap in, and I was like, all right, here we go. Here's a big thing. The second song, or the first track after theme, that's probably my favorite track on the album. Just because I like how it immerses me into it. Uh-huh. And like 3/4 of the way through, I'm like, it can go deeper, or it can like get bigger. And it's like, it feels very much like the Big Bang almost to the record, where you're like, oh, now here's the whole universe we're gonna spend the next hour.
That song is actually one that like I personally contributed a lot of the actual like riffs and song workings to, that like, which is not something I do a lot of in the band, or haven't been lately at least, but there's just something about that particular, like the main riff of the song that like I just kind of took that and wanted to make a song out of it, and it's like the song to me is just like a long anxiety attack, it feels like. So it's,
and as a person who has a lot of those, I was like, this feels like home. This is nice.
Yeah, it's supposed to just it's just sort of like, the first track, just sort of this wake up, like kind of just like getting into, like, it's like almost like a coming back kind of feeling. And then, the second track is just like super dark and just like, you're kind of in the shit now.
Yeah. Yeah, it does a good job of balancing the heavy and melodic elements of the record, which come out, on their each later on. But that track is really like a little taste, a little appetizer of everything. So I was reading the notes, and it said that the first song for the record you guys really wrote while touring for Owls, like back in 2018. So which track is that? Like, where does this seed start for this record?
There were a couple songs that Brody wrote that I think we kind of chopped up and left. Like we took pieces of that they do appear on the record, but like as whole songs they didn't make it. So that was early on. But later I think the first like complete like track where we were like, yeah, that's it, that's going on the record was Episode.
Okay. I'm always curious because you guys are a band that's so good at storytelling, but I'm always interested in like how that seed begins, where it's like I have an idea and it becomes a song, and then you're like, this is now what becomes the work, where it's like this sprawling, interconnected idea of a thing.
Yeah.
So I know Owls was kind of similar, where it had a story and a structure. You guys do it so well. So when you start this one, is it immediately like, what's the story we're telling, or do you find the story and then kind of write to that?
The thing about that is like, and it is kind of frustrating sometimes, is that like I know that when I'm making a thing like this, it's not like if you write a book or you make a movie or something, like the director or the author doesn't have to go and perform it live for everybody for 2 years. We do when you make a record in this industry, that's really the beginning of your journey. So it's sort of frustrating knowing that when you're going in, just being like, there's so much, like I'm writing this thing and I'm putting out all of this creative input, but I know it's, no matter how finished I make it, it's not really done. And like, so that's like, kind of, I was like, that's the work.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's never really done. And then like, it happened with Owls. Like it was, I rewrote it kind of in a flurry, and like there's just all these emotions going on, and it's just like there's always this feeling. It's like, get this record done, and then by the time you slow down and you're like touring and getting to analyze the things that you've done, you learn so much more about the things you had to say. And like, so that was in my opinion was just like the impetus of like trying to tell a more complete story with this record, and also kind of speak to that ever growing narrative idea.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, I love stand-up comedy, and I hear a lot of comedians talk about how like sometimes they hate to use a joke in the special because they just feel that like, I'll find a way to make it a little bit better.
Right.
I'll find that extra riff, that extra note, that next thing. And once you put it out in the special, people are like, no, I want that version. I don't want you, like Jim Gaffigan can't fix his Hot Pockets joke. It's just what it is forever.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's, I mean, and like by the end of the Owls tour cycle, like I was playing and singing stuff a little differently, and like, but maybe not as differently as I would have had I, if we hadn't had the expectation to play exactly what's on the record. Yeah. I always like to do that. I like to play to like, improvise and come up with things as I think of them. And
well, you guys strike me as a band that loves to kind of play around and find the pocket on a song. So I imagine that having to be like, this one's locked goes against your nature.
Goes against my nature personally. I can't speak for the entire band.
I want to play with this some more.
Yeah. I mean, that's truly how it is for me. But I know there's some guys in the band that just, they want that thing locked in, and like every note is every note.
Let's talk about the use of saxophone, because wonderful addition. I made a note when I was listening to the record the first time where I was like, everyone is always like, we found a way to be darker, heavier, grittier, and you guys are like, we're just gonna go wide. Like, you're kind of spreading your sound out more.
Yeah.
Is that like a conscious decision where you talk about it, like how we're gonna build on our sound, or is it just sax makes sense?
The whole sax thing started out just from our access to it, really. It was just because, we knew our friend Zach. He was a, really amazing saxophone player, and like we showed him some new Owls material, and he played over it, sent us a video back, and we loved it. And we were just like, yeah, let's go for it. Let's incorporate this element. And we were just in the mode while writing Owls where we were like, like it was kind of this anything goes thing. And it took a little while. Like it's like we had that one sax solo. I think it was on the Silent Life. Like that was established. And then it was like there were sections in other songs where it was just like, well, what do we do with this? What do we do with that? And then a lot of times the answer was like, maybe we can build it up with some sax here, just
something different.
Why contain it to one single instance when we can, sometimes I hear like a good guest spot by something on a record, and I'm like, wow, I wish there was more of that.
Yeah.
Especially on metal records. Like I feel like, most of the time, like metal bands like that ones that have used like saxophone in particular.
Yeah.
We know we're not the first ones, but it's like most of the time I hear it, it's just like it's in one song and then it's gone forever. I just kind of wanted it to be more a part of it. Honestly, it's like inspired by Pink Floyd because as much as everybody loves David Gilmour's guitar solos, like there's lots of sax all over that their whole catalog. It's great.
Yeah,
and it adds a little variety and texture, and we figured why not have that variety and texture.
And not every song can just be the heaviest thing you've ever written. You got to try to play something different.
I know. I personally don't even listen to that much heavy music.
That's the general theme, yeah.
So why would I want every song to be just brutal, smashing death metal constantly? I don't. I mean, it's fun. I like to play that kind of stuff, and I mean, honestly, the live element to it all, being on tour with bands like these, you want to kind of bring your tough guy edge all the time, but.
Yeah. It's a 180 from Undeath to some of the new songs.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's fine.
It's fine. I mean, variety is the spice of life.
A crowd needs levels.
And that's I mean, they come here for the big adrenaline rush, and then maybe some people are let down by softer moments or whatever. But that's I always like to have that kind of full spectrum life feel to what it is we do,
Well, I think any band that's worth their salt, especially once you get like more than 2 albums in, if you aren't trying to play with your sound and like what it is you are as an artist, I kind of get bored.
Yeah, that's kind of how I always thought of it. It's just like there's a lot of bands out there that they find their center, they find what they sound like. And then they're locked into that forever, and and it's just like they'll put out record after record of that sound, and it works great for some. Some are awesome at it, and good for them. For me, it's just I don't know how I could do that. My personal life and my life as a musician are things that are intertwined, and I can't really separate one from the other. And just, my life isn't just always brutal death metal or heavy music. It's lots of different things. And so as a musician, I want to be a representation of that.
I love it. I love it. Said it so well. A few more things about the work. It's incredible. People need to check it out. 924. I like the idea of a concept record in metal that's also just this abstract idea. Whereas I could easily apply it to myself versus seeing and while I love it, some very mythical quest type shit where I'm like, how does that apply? I work from home all the time. What is this? How does this relate to my life?
Yeah.
The work, I'm like, I get this.
Yes.
It's a big concept. I can make it my own without having to do all the work of what is the allegory you're trying to express to me?
Right. It's pretty straightforward. If that's a lot of. I've already had a lot of interviews where they're asking me what is the story of the work, and I'm just like, you already know it.
Yeah.
You just
what do you think it is?
Yeah, it's if you live in this big machine, just take a look around, and that's really what it is. And it's just the work concept came before any music was written, so it was just I had a lot of time to really stew on it, probably too much time, honestly. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The record is it is a product of the time in which it was made, And I think we did it. I think Joe Biden was elected while we were in the studio, and it was just if anybody remembers that time of our recent history, it was pretty.
It was 6 years ago, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
I'm
August.
107 now. So if anybody remembers that, it was rough, strange times for all of us, and
Well, let's hit you with an easy one before I let you go. Since you are not always a listening to heavy guy, 4 days into tour, what's the artist or album you're listening to when you're not on stage right now?
What were we listening to? I don't know. I've been listening to like a lot of like, listen to the new Vince Staples record and the new Tyler the Creator, and
We listened to that on our way over here.
yeah. Just
That's good.
no, I wanted to shout out something else, but I can't remember. Whatever, but it's
I love it. Those are great records.
Yeah,
Some of my favorite records of the year.
Yeah, great.
Great albums, amazing production.
Yeah.
I like the idea of, we'll talk about it off air. The Tyler record has some amazing production ideas that I love. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
Yeah, no
problem. The work is out
problem.
9/24. It's on Metal Blade Records, just like the previous releases. You guys are going to be on the road, I imagine, for the foreseeable future. Hopefully. And if not, they'll be on a digital stage somewhere or something like that.
We'll
You'll
find our
adapt.
way to your ear holes.
They'll
one
be
way or
doing the
other.
work, as
Yeah.
they say. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.